Welcome to the Radical Rhythm Podcast. This has been created for those of us that love radical women who live perhaps by the rules, but also question and challenge the status quo. We want more from our lives, to enjoy our sexuality, to explore radical thought, and to celebrate women who have lived and continue to live unconventional lives. Hi, I'm Dr. Toni Baer, sexologist, educator, activist, and definitely a radical woman. Thank you for joining me as I share stories of women challenging the status quo and living life to the fullest. Join me as we unapologetically march to the beat of a different drummer together. So, welcome to the Radical Rhythm Podcast. Today we have Laarni, and I am so excited that I met her online this week, and we're doing this right away because her story is so interesting. So, let's turn it over to Laarni right away. Laarni, would you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Again, thank you for having me. I'm so glad we met yesterday. Um,
Right.
and we just hit it off right away. So thank you for having me on your show because I love sharing my story, like you said, and I love being able to provide value to the world. So my name is Laarni Mulvey. I am a women's strength advocate. I'm a mind strength coach, author, speaker, but the best part about me, I think, is that I'm a power lifter. And a lot of part of my journey really are lessons from being a power lifter. But there's a lot of different ups and downs from the beginning to where I am now and how I built who I am.
Fantastic. I think we hit it off right away because we have so much in common, and that was it was exciting. Now, the Radical Rhythm podcast is all about women who have ideas and movements that are different than the mainstream. They think out of the box. And one being a female power lifter, how did that happen? I would think that's out of the box just to start.
Yeah, I totally agree. Who would have thought that I would be a power lifter at 44 years old, just starting a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. But really the path that I took to get to powerlifting now was very trial and error, was a lot of understanding my body, understanding my capabilities and my abilities at the same time, and understanding that I was a lot stronger than I think that I thought I was, and I needed to not hide it. And I tried CrossFit, I tried boxing, I tried jujitsu, I even thought I was a runner for a year, and good Lord, that was the worst decision ever in my life. But what I really came down to it, the same pattern was happening. I would always kind of zoom to the weights. I would zoom not to the lighter weights, and the lighter weights have a purpose for me, but I really love to challenge myself to see, can I lift that 75-pound dumbbell? Maybe, I don't know. Or sometimes I would go, I wonder if I could push that car. It's just the weirdest challenges for me that brought me to powerlifting. And then one day in March 2019, I was like, you know what? I'm going to powerlift. I'm going to try something. I'm going to try powerlifting. I've always wanted to compete in something. So let me try powerlifting for a little bit and let me see what happens. And the coach that I had, she's the one that actually said, if you really enjoy it, you should compete. And I really I thank her for planting that seed of embracing my strength and knowing that I'm strong to go and compete. And so found a powerlifting gym, found another powerlifting coach, and I've already competed twice, and it is the best feeling. It's like a big accomplishment for me. So I love the feeling of the bar in my hands. I love the challenge and just that mental game. It's huge. It's huge in powerlifting.
Oh, are you somebody that has always been an athlete and you were looking for something to do in your 40s? Or were you a woman looking to get into shape, to lose weight? Where did the motivation come that led you from sport to sport to sport to powerlifting?
Yes, to answer all those. So okay, so I moved to the States when I was 5. And I was always one of those kids that ran around. Like in the Philippines, I barely wore shoes. I still barely wear shoes now. Like I only wear them because I have to. And as I got older and I started seeing a lot of things either on TV or the people around me, I noticed that not many people were looking like me. Especially like in my mind, I always knew I was going to be an athlete. I just didn't know how. I didn't know in what capacity I was going to be an athlete. But since I was little, I really wanted to be an athlete or play sports or do something active. And when I moved to the States, it was it changed the whole dynamic of what I wanted to be. Um, my parents didn't allow me to play sports in high school. I really wasn't allowed to play organized sports. The only sport that I did play was with my mom, and we played tennis for 4 or 5 hours. And that was really the only sport I was able to do. But I wanted more. I wanted more. I want to do this. I want to play basketball. I want to play softball. I wanted to do all of it. And I wasn't allowed to. And it was so hard for me to wrap my head around that. And it led me to being more rebellious. It led me to being more like that problem child, that problem teenager, when really it was to the point where I saw myself being an athlete, knowing that it was going to bring me joy because I loved running around anyway, but I couldn't do it. And so that led me down like the depression, when I was a teenager, like that depression, that teenage angst, that those suicidal thoughts that, we talk about that more freely now, but back in the 80s, it was not like, oh, no, 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 you just need to do something else. And academics in my culture is very important. Sports was not. So it's like I get tugged between wanting to be this American kid, but then I have this culture of my family, and it's like a clash of my identity. And I didn't know who I was. So um, to hopefully give a better answer to your question, it took a long time. It took a long time to build this person that you see now as an athlete. As I became an adult, I was like, screw you, Dad, I'm gonna go do whatever I want. And now, that's why I've tried so many sports, because I didn't get to try it. I didn't get to try what I liked. I didn't see a lot of Asian women besides my mother playing tennis. Like I didn't see many Asian women in athletics. And my curiosity side really, it was like on fire. Like I wanted to try every sport possible. And then I think powerlifting just became the thing. It became my thing. Yes, I'm 44. It took me forever, but I'm enjoying it so much that I'm going to keep going with it.
That's just fantastic. Um, when we were talking yesterday, you kept using the expression, I want to get big. I want to be bigger. And, you know, most women I know are trying to get smaller. They're not
Yeah,
trying to get larger. And tell me what that means to you. Like, what does it mean to get big?
big. So for me, I'm only 5'1" and I'm 233 pounds. So I'm short and stocky as it is. But when I think of big, it comes all around big. Like um, I want big shoulders. I want big legs. I want like big muscles. We call it in my gym, we call it Swell City. We're going to Swell City. And I'm like the president or the mayor of Swell City at the moment. Because for me, when I think of big, I think of how I handle myself, like how I value myself. I value myself in a big way. I have a big self-belief. I have a big love for myself. And even though that's mental and emotional, it's, what makes me happy is seeing if I could, if I can walk sideways through the doorway, let's see if I can fit. And I think it's just because I have been made to be small all my life. I've always wanted to be big, but the world around me always pushed me down to be small or be quiet or don't ruffle any feathers. And as I've broken out of my shell a lot, this bigness, this bigness is my energy, my positivity to the world. Being big means like getting to know people and understanding how they're feeling, but supporting other people. So to me, when I say I want to get big, it's not just physical, it's really making sure that the energy around me is big and that everybody who comes in contact with me, talks with me, takes away a little piece of my energy as well.
And you have such amazing energy. It comes right through the screen, right? So your message of being big um, is in a book now.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book? I see it in the back of
Yes.
the
So
screen.
I published my first book ever in my whole entire life, beginning in March 13th of this year. And it's taken 20 plus years to get the courage and bravery to write this book. Even though it's a collaborative book, there are 7 women who shared their stories of their inner power being unleashed. And they found their power through going through these obstacles of body image, going through eating disorders, going through people's judgments of them, and telling them that they should be this when in their minds they want to be this. And these stories of inner power unleashed is they're unleashing it because they're finding it through movement. They're finding it through sport. They're finding through it through athletics. And these stories of these women, I I asked these women to like share their story, but at the end, what can you give to the upcoming generation? What can you give? What kind of like insight can you give to another female that is feeling like they're alone in the same journey? Because I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of Asian women who really want to touch the barbell, but they don't know how. They don't know how to ask. And my story of getting big is not just physically, but like, hey, let's see let's see how big your voice can get to ask. Let's see how much confidence I can give you. So with this book, between every author's chapter, there's reflection pages. And it gives the reader a second before hopping into the next story. It gives the reader a second to doodle, write a note, whatever, something that touched them, and reflect on it and let it soak in and understand like, okay, that's, I could see that, or that's interesting. I would have never thought about it that way. Or maybe, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll touch a barbell. Who knows? So, that's this book is not just for reading, but for learning and understanding as well.
Great. Excuse me. Powerlifting is an individual sport. And, power lifters like tennis players or like track athletes work out hard by themselves. They might have a group of friends in a gym, but it's really like a struggle onto yourself by yourself. What motivated you to push out and get other people's stories rather than just concentrate on yourself and building yourself? Where does this need to have a bigger voice and a bigger impact come from a person who does an individual sport?
Well, so 2020 was a crazy year for everybody. And as I lost my job, one of the pivotal moments of this decision to share and build women, as I had lost my job, and I had a job lined up probably, and I lost my job in March. I had a job lined up in April. They called me 2 days before I started and said, you know what, we don't have a job for you because of COVID. Okay, cool, whatever. I'll take another few weeks of vacation. And then had another job lined up in June, and same thing happened, but they called me the Friday before I started on the Monday, and they're like, hey, sorry, we don't have that job for you. And at that point, I felt like a failure. I felt like, okay, why can't I get a job? So before getting really depressed and upset, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go get my hair done. Let me go to the hair salon. So I go to the hair salon and I'm talking to my hairdresser, and she's drying my hair, and I'm talking loud, and I'm telling her that the company that I worked for, I was getting tired of getting pushed aside. I was getting tired of them trying to, whenever I asked a question, they didn't acknowledge me, and I was getting really tired of it. And they weren't doing it just to me, they were doing it to the other women as well. And I had it, and I felt like my voice was burning about it. And I was like, women, we are so much stronger than we think we are. And I was just saying it so loud that another lady in the salon came up to me, and she validated my statement by going, you know what, I really needed to hear that. She's like, I know that I'm strong. I know what I have, and I just don't do it because I don't know why. And as soon as I got that acknowledgement from a stranger that I didn't know, I knew that this is what I had to do. I knew I had to share my story. I had to share a way to get these women, as strong as I am as a power lifter, I not only as strong to be able to carry them physically to the start line, I want to bring them mentally to the start line as well, because they have to start somewhere. And the start is to look inside and find your inner strength, because without that, you kind of just muddle in the waters. But you feel like you're drowning. And then when you find your strength, you call yourself out of it. So that's why I started pushing myself to make sure I'm strong enough to help the women who feel like they're not. Let me bring you to your start line. Let me bring you there. So then you can take off and understand who you are and know who you are and know that you're stronger than you think you are.
That is such a powerful message. That is beautiful. Um, and how would you work with someone like me? I have struggled my whole life with body image, like many other women. And, the stereotype of beautiful being 34, 24, 32, right?
Yeah.
Just telling me I'm beautiful and I'm big and work out. Yeah, I've been telling myself that a long time. How can you help me really believe that this beauty myth is bullshit,
Yes.
and that women, we need to claim our strength?
Yes. So a lot of the programming that is in our subconscious is definitely culture, social media based. And my first question would be for anybody is, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of seeing if you do succeed? What are you afraid of if you fail? So when it comes to body image, like what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? People saying bad things about you? Are you afraid of being compared to, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else? Really, when it comes to body image, for me, and I'm no expert on like psychological, body image, body dysmorphia, but for me, I became so encouraging of myself that the reason why I would want somebody to find their inner self is because you have to look within yourself and see what you're afraid of. Like, what are you afraid of? To know, what if you are stronger than you think you are? Then what? it's different levels, like different layers that people pile onto themselves to hide themselves. And the fear is, to me, the fear is, what are people going to say about me? And I got to the point and I was like, fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what your opinion of me is none of my business. So I'm gonna love myself. I'm gonna poke and prod my little roles here and there, but I am given this body. This is what I have. This is my gift. This is what God gave me, is this body, and it's the only vessel that I have. And I'm going to put the positive things in my vessel. And if you're gonna try to put a negative thought in my head, no, sorry, no, that's not gonna happen, because I love myself too much. And I value myself too much. And it's hard. It doesn't happen right away. It's taken me like 20 years to build this more positive side of myself, but I had to face the fear. And I feel like there's that fear of judgment, that fear of being ashamed of what you have. And it's like the ownership of who you are. I mean, yes, we've all had shitty relationships. We've all had that background of not being supported as a kid. I read a study that 22% of women are shown confidence when they're growing up. Only 22%. And that was like a recent study. I think it was like in 2019. 22%. I didn't even fall in that 22% growing up. I had to learn how to build my confidence myself. I didn't get the good job. I didn't get the good job, Laarni. I didn't get that when I was younger. And that travels with us as we get older. And it's when we take the baggage and put it down and leave it, where the weight is off of us, where we actually can love ourselves, where we can love each other. And instead of comparing each other, why don't we just uplift each other?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me the biggest breakthrough came about 10 years ago. I was out to lunch with a friend named Jeff, who's a counselor, and we were talking. And I was about to go on a big stage in front of a lot of people. And I said, I don't know, I don't feel real sexy. It actually was about sexiness, the conversation. And and he reached over, and before he reached over, he said, "So Toni, what are you afraid of?" Exactly what you said. And that was huge. And I had to say, "Well, I'm afraid people won't like me." That's it. And he reached over and he grabbed my hand and he said, "Toni, people already don't like you." And it it's the first time someone was like real. Like normally people are like, "Oh, you're beautiful, everything's fine," and they haven't had the same personal experience I've had, where the messages have come in negatively, right? But
Mhm.
Jeff acknowledging that, yeah, there's some people who don't like you, and then he hesitated and said, "And there's some people that do like you.
Yep.
So what, right? So
Yes.
what? Are you going to allow other people to make you small?"
Yes.
So as I hear your message, it is, for me, it was groundbreaking. It really caused a shift in the
Mhm.
beginning of a transformation, and I think your message is very powerful. So my last question of the podcast today, because I hope we have a
Oh,
continuing relationship and doing other things, but for the podcast, can you tell my audience, where are you going with this? What is your goal? What would you like to see happen in the world?
yes. Yes. So there's a few things my legacy that I want to leave. When I'm dead and gone, I really want to leave the narrative about women to be where we are not shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I want to leave the legacy of making sure this younger generation is fighting for the equality. We're fighting for ourselves to be seen. We're fighting for understanding that we are, there's a balance with us. some of us are a little more direct, some of us aren't, but the idea of supporting each other and having this community of strong women to bounce ideas off of, everybody's got different ideas. And I want to leave that legacy of having access to a lot of other people who can help other people. So I have this vision of it's called the Women's Strength Initiative, where there are realms of strength that people can have access to. So that includes leadership, mentorship, entrepreneurship, health and wellness, fitness, networking, because I feel like those realms of strength connect everybody. And we are just helping each other to change the narrative of what people are perceiving women can do. There is one page that I follow that makes my blood boil when I see some of the statements that are said about women. Like, go make me a sandwich. I'm pretty sure. Oh, just because you could lift that doesn't mean you can make me a sandwich. It's like, well, first of all, who thought about us making guys sandwiches? I don't know. But that was like decades ago that, they had these ads of women making stuff for their husband. And that's all they did. But really, we have so much more to us. We have so much more power to us. And that is the lasting impression I want to leave with everybody. Like, know that you have a lot more power to you than you ever thought. And that's what the Women's Strength Initiative is stemming from. It's like, let us have the voice. Let us have this voice, but listen to us as well. So we can scream and yell all we want, but we also have to have the people to listen to us. So that's one part of like the legacy that I want to leave for the world. The other thing is I want to have the people be accountable. If you're gonna say something about women, explain yourself. Like I may not like what you say, but at least you're not just saying it out of spite. You're not saying it out of just hate. You actually have like an experience about it. And then maybe I can change your experience. Who knows? But really it's that education. Let's change the narrative of what surrounds women and what women should be doing, because it's your thought of what we should be doing. Let us just be free. let us just live our lives without having to fear of what we're going to wear, what we're going to we have to say sorry all the time. Like, no, we're not sorry all the time. And those are the confidence bricks that I want to make sure I'm leaving with everyone as well.
And that is a phenomenal legacy. How much do you want to lift before you retire from your career?
Well, so my current deadlift right now is 402 pounds. And do I want to hit 500? Hell yeah. Squatting, I would love to get to the 300s, 400s. But right now my bench is the weakest. I shouldn't say weakest. It's the event that I struggle with the most. I haven't been able to gain the 5 pounds, and 160 is the only thing that I've gotten to, but my goal is to be in the 200s. There's one athlete, Jennifer Lee Thompson. She's like a 11-time powerlifting champion or something. And I don't know how old she is, but she can bench like twice her body weight. And she's slender, but shoot, like twice my body weight is in the almost 500. So we'll see.
Fantastic. And how long do you think you're going to do this? How long do women power lift?
I belong to a group. It's called the Old Ladies Lift Group. And there are so many ladies in there who are older than me that are still lifting. They're in their 60s, they're in their 70s. They're medaling. And I have a summit coming up, which you are going to be a part of. I'm so excited. And that summit is June 24, 25, 26, and it's called Standing in Strength, Mission, Determination, and Act and Share and Service. I'm sorry, Determination and Service. And it's building that community and support for everybody.
Laarni, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. You are indeed an inspiration, and I look forward to seeing you again and continuing the work together in any form that we can. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes.
Thank you for listening to the Radical Rhythm podcast today. It has truly been my pleasure to invite guests and talk to you about my passion, the joy in our sexuality, and radical women who march to the beat of a different drum. If you'd like to work with me, Dr. Toni Bear, I have a community where I give seminars every month. I also have a coaching program, both group and individual, and also a course, a self-directed course, because it's all about experiencing the joy life has to offer. I'd love to work with you. Check out my link below, www.tonibearedd.com. See you next week, and don't let anyone dim your shine.